also want to introduce to you Mr. Donald Toms. Don is the Assistant City Administrator, and he comes to us with over 25 years of experience in state and local government. As with myself too, I also have over 20 years of experience in local government. I have worked for the city most recently, before I joined the city of South Fulton, the city of Smyrna, Georgia, where I was there for 11 years, and I served as the Assistant City Administrator and also as the City Administrator, where I managed the day-to-day operations of the city, was responsible for leading a team of almost 400 employees, and managed many, large projects. And I am very proud to say that one of the accomplishments that I did with the city of Smyrna is that we were recognized as one of the 50 best places to live. And I'm so excited about the things that we are going to be doing in the city of South Fulton. In the, I would say, first 100 days of me being here, one of the things that I'm interested in doing is focusing on our URA projects. It touches on many areas of city operations, from public safety to parks, to, even acquiring land for a police precinct. So we have a lot to do, and I'm very, very proud of the team that I have. I'm very thankful and humbled by Mayor Edwards and the City Council allowing me the opportunity to serve as your city manager. I can be reached at tammy.jones@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. And if you want to know about some things that are going on in the city, I encourage you to refer to our city website, www.cityofsouthfultonga.gov. And again, I'm very, very happy to be a part of this community. Look forward to hopefully getting a chance to meet each of you, and definitely want to say thank you again to Councilmember Gumbs for allowing me the opportunity to participate this evening. And Don, if you want to share anything, please, by all means.
Thank you, Ms. Adler-Jones. That's a hard speech to follow, but I'm very appreciative of the city of South Fulton. Have enjoyed my time here at the city. It's been just a few weeks. I started in mid-December, and I come to the city of South Fulton after working for almost a decade for the state of Florida out of Tallahassee. And then I moved to a large city in Virginia, in Newport News, and then started my career in Georgia, working for many cities throughout the state. And I am really enjoying this opportunity and see a lot of potential in the city of South Fulton, and also joined by a great team of elected officials and staff members. So I too am happy to be here tonight. All my contact information is available on the website and available to assist the citizens any way I can. Thank you.
Awesome. So thank you so much to you both, Tammy and Don. We are super excited to have you. And again, I'm pretty sure the residents will definitely be reaching out. We have a very vocal community, and I love it, but they will be reaching out and looking forward to getting to know you a little bit further. So I believe our next presentation, our next speaker would be our Parks and Recreational Department. Am I correct in that?
Yes, ma'am.
Looks like it. So we will bring Director Tony Phillips ready to go. So let's hear about the great things happening in our Parks Department. And I know Chapin is filling in for South Fulton University.
Exactly. She'll be joining us in just a few minutes. We're kind of double duty tonight, but that's good because it gives us a chance to talk to residents. First, let me thank Councilwoman Gumbs for allowing us to be a part of tonight's meeting. It's always a benefit for us when we have a chance to talk directly to our community. As she mentioned, my name is Tony Phillips. I am the director of our Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Department. It's an exciting time for us. In addition to being the director, I have a tremendous team that I'm able to work with. I'm very fortunate to have some very talented folks. Councilwoman Gumbs just referenced our Deputy Director, Chapin Payne. We've got a program and events manager, Lakita Ford, who's also key, as well as several really experienced managers. We built a really good team over the last 2 years. And so we're excited about that. In addition to being the director of the department, I am also a resident of the city. My wife and I raised our 4 children here in the city and actually grew up here as well. So it's a job, but it's also where I live. And so it means a lot. Tonight, I want to take just a few minutes to talk about the 3 things that you see currently on the screen: our reopening plan for COVID safety practices, an update on our master plan, which is a really significant effort for us. And finally, I want to cover briefly some of the virtual programs that we are currently offering for our winter session. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So we have developed a 3-phased approach to reopening. The overarching guidance for us is to make sure that everything we do is done safely. We've all had to learn a lot and to change and adapt, as everyone has since March. And that's no less true for us as a city and us as a department. So we've developed this reopening plan that I'm going to cover with you very briefly. But one of the things I would tell you is that plans like this are always fluid. We've learned a lot since March. We're still going to learn more. There's the prospect of a vaccine on the horizon. And so how all of that impacts how we move forward will be something that we'll consult with our city manager, assistant city manager, and our council on as we move forward. So bear in mind that there is some fluidity to this reopening plan. It's in 3 phases, as I mentioned, and we're currently in phase 1. And each of these phases provides for a deliberate and safe manner for us to gradually increase access to our parks and facilities while maintaining appropriate public health guidelines and recommendations. Initially, we estimated these phases to be roughly 30 to 60 days, but there are some important kind of guidelines that trigger when we move from phase 1 to phase 2. And key in that is that the current positioning of our reopening plan is that we look for a 14-day period of declining virus transmission numbers as one of those benchmarks to indicate that it's time to consider moving to the next phase. So next slide, if you would, please. So currently in phase 1, we are in our parks phase of the plan. So we have roughly 6 parks that are currently available for what we call passive use. So what does that mean? It means activities that are not group-based, but are more individual-based, that you can do individually while maintaining social distancing. You can see that the park hours are listed on this slide here: Tuesday through Sundays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the locations that you see listed: Burnett Park, Canine Crossing, which is our dog park, Cliftondale Park, which is in District 2, Creel Park, Trammell Crow, Welcome Mall, and Wilkerson Mill Ferris Park. If we can move to the next slide. So this gives us a little bit more context on what passive use is. So as you can see, passive individual use, some examples of that would be biking, running, walking, individual exercise. As you can see with those examples, those all allow us to maintain physical distancing, which is really key. We encourage mask use wherever possible, along with physical distancing. And we also have signage in our parks that kind of reminds our community to make sure we're following those public health guidelines. Now, some of the restricted areas in the park currently under this phase 1 reopening are things like playgrounds, pavilions, basketball courts, our sports fields, our outdoor exercise equipment, outdoor restrooms, and outdoor water fountains. What's common about all of those issues or those amenities is that they tend to be areas where people gather. And so that's what we're trying to avoid in this pandemic, is keeping people safely social distance. Plus, there's some issues around disinfecting and things of that nature in a park system that makes those areas probably better for phase 2 and phase 3. So currently, those are the areas that are restricted use. However, you're welcome to come to the park and do those passive things. I know it's very difficult. There's a lot of COVID fatigue right now. We've all been cooped up in the house for a long time. So you're welcome to come to the park, walk, bike, run, individual exercise. And so those things are at least a step towards reopening that allow folks to get out and do some of those healthy activities that are good for all of us. And next slide, please. So phase 2, when we trigger to phase 2 and we move to the next phase of the plan, we will begin to reopen on a limited basis some of our facilities, again, for passive uses. So those that will open in phase 2 would be Sandtown, Welcome Mall, Cliftondale, again, that's in District 2, Southwest Arts Center and South Fulton Arts Center, which is also in District 2, and they'll be open on those schedules. So when those facilities open, they will be for passive use. Again, we'll look for individual uses, not group uses for those facilities. And we will have a protocol for for screening everyone that enters a facility. So we've already started purchasing devices that will check for temperature, scan people as they enter the building. We'll ask people to, of course, wear a mask, to appropriately social distance. We've purchased some other items that will help us to keep large areas disinfected. So we kind of thought through the protocols that can help us to move into phase 2. And again, keep everyone healthy and safe. I can tell you our staff is really excited and anxious about being able to do what it is that we do in Parks and Recreation and Cultural Affairs. So at the first opportunity when it's healthy to do so, we look forward to being able to welcome citizens back to our facilities. Next slide, please. Phase 3 is when we get to what we refer to as our new normal programming, right? So this will be ongoing programming. At this phase, all of our facilities would be open to the public. We would maintain physical distancing guidelines. They're modified but not eliminated. We'd still be screening at entry points to the facilities to make sure we're keeping people healthy. You know, we're gonna have to learn to live with COVID-19. Even with the vaccine, the likelihood is this is not something that will disappear in the foreseeable future. So we'll adjust as we need to. But when we get to phase 3, that is kind of normal programming for us again. We'll reopen all of our facilities, both art and recreation centers. All of our parks would be open at that point, and we'd be offering a full range of in-person programming, youth athletics, recreation, cultural affairs, and arts programming. And we look to maintain, expand, and diversify our virtual programming. That's been a real growth area for us over the last 9 months because we've had to move to virtual programming. And we found that for a lot of our residents, and a lot of our citizens, it's a really good fit. And so as we move forward, we'll move back to in-person programming, but we'll look to maintain and continue to build on that virtual programming so that we can offer the options that are best for residents throughout our city. Some folks would prefer the in-person option. We'll certainly have that by the time we get to phase 3, but others may want to continue with virtual programming, either for comfort level or for convenience. And so we'll have both options available as we move to our new normal. So that's kind of our approach to reopening. And again, once again, it's a fluid process. We're having conversations now about how we pace the reopening. And so there'll be more information coming as our leadership in the city starts to look at how to pace moving into our reopening phase. So our next slide takes us into our master plan. And this is a really another exciting area. For those of you who may not be aware, a master plan is kind of an extended strategic plan. What it does for parks recreation agencies is it creates a roadmap that we build collaboratively as a city. That's why it says one city, one park system, which is kind of our overarching theme. We started this plan a little over a year ago prior to the pandemic, and we had several public engagements where our Parks Master Plan consultant, Perez Consulting, who are very experienced, by the way, they've done this over 100 times for cities all over the nation, including Gwinnett, Atlanta, several other local jurisdictions. They're partnering with us. And so they had several opportunities before COVID took over to engage citizens directly to make sure that this plan is collaborative. So we've had statistically valid surveys where they've asked citizens what preferences they have around programming, around facilities, around how we plan our future. And so it's been a highly collaborative process that has allowed us to really get a sense of what our stakeholders in the city are really looking for in a park system. So that begins, of course, with residents. But we've also talked to our council members. We've talked to the city manager, assistant city manager, and all of that input will help to build this master plan, which is a roadmap that we'll use to guide our decisions over the next 5 to 10 years. It gives us a plan so we can decide where we need to make investments in park facilities, where we need to build programming that fits the needs of our community. And so parks have a lot of impact that may not be immediately apparent. And that's what this Parks Master Plan is helping us to make sure we capitalize on. It touches on things like social, economic, and environmental issues. We're exploring how the Parks and Recreation System Master Plan can not only address recreation and cultural needs, but also the community. Oops, I'm sorry. Also the community as we help to address related issues across our city. And so we're really excited about the process. It's a 5-stage process that looks at context analysis as first phase, needs and priorities assessments is our second phase. Currently, we're in phase 3, which is long-range visioning. So we'll have some interactive processes that many of you can connect to over the next several months to help us develop the long-range visions and where we'd like to go in all of those areas. Then the last 2 stages, stage 4 is implementation of that plan. And finally, at stage 5, is plan adoption by our elected officials. And so we're about halfway through that process. We're expecting to complete the master plan sometime late spring, early summer is the timeline that we're looking at. And so that's really going to be a benefit. If you'd like more information from that, there's information available on our website, on the city's website. You can also contact the department. We'll make sure that you have our contact information before the evening is over. And if we can move to the next slide, please. So I wanted to talk for a few moments about our virtual programming. You know, we've been challenged since March to figure out how do we continue to connect to our communities when we can't have facilities open, when we couldn't do the face-to-face things that were really a part of how we programmed. And so what we've done in that interim is we've pivoted to virtual programming, as most of us have with the, as you see tonight with this Zoom meeting. And so this is a brief snapshot of the current virtual programs that are available for registration through Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs. Inner Healing Stretch, which is a healthy stretch program that is available. Men's Power Train is an exercise program that focuses on health and fitness, movement and balance as well. We have a modern dance program that's offered currently, a jazz dance program. We have group guitar lessons, which are offered virtually, a digital photography class, cooking classes, teen acting, and esports, which is a new area for us that we're really excited about. So those of you who are parents, if you have teenagers like myself, you know how popular e-gaming is right now, video games, game systems. And so we've taken that and used it as a virtual programming option. We have a consultant that's helping to set up our esports league where youth from all over the city can connect into this and be able to connect and play some of the popular games that are really popular with youth right now, NBA 2K, Madden, MLB. And so that's a really exciting area. That's really a growth area for agencies in Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs all over the country. And so we're excited about that. The last thing is we want to move to the next slide and tell you how you can stay up to date with PRCA. You can visit our website. As you can see, the address is listed there on your screen. You can also follow us on social media, on Instagram at South Fulton PRCA and on Facebook at South Fulton PRCA as well. Our phone number for our primary administrative office is 470-809-7275, which is 809 Park. And so you can contact us there, as well as contact me directly. It's tony.phillips@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. And so you're welcome to call, contact us anytime you have questions. There's information on the website. We post regularly on social media to make sure that you're aware of all the opportunities that we have. And that is the final slide for our presentation this evening. We will be around to answer any questions that you may have specific to anything we've talked about or anything else related to our department that you may have any questions about. Thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to share where we are with PRCA.
Thank you. Thank you. That was awesome, Tony. I really appreciate that and the update. I'm pretty sure the residents are excited as well. So thank you for that. Also, too, you know, talking with Chapin, we talked about the senior Cliftondale being named a senior park and garden and stuff.
So you mentioned that. Give me 10 seconds. I just want to talk about that because it is exciting. We are looking at creating a senior park at Cliftondale through our URA program. The steps for that will begin over the next week or so. We'll start converting the baseball field that many of you see as you travel on Butner Road is going to be one of the primary senior activity areas. And so we're looking forward to renovating that. There's going to be a walking track around that area and some other upgrades as well. So Chapin is excited, as every right should be. We want all of you to be excited because great things are coming at Cliftondale, not just for the senior park, but there's some renovations that will be coming to the multi-purpose center as well. And so it's going to be an exciting year for us at Cliftondale.
I love it. I love it. You know, I love seniors, so I might be out there walking with them too. So thank you. Thank you.
Look forward to it.
All right. So we're going to move on. Again, Mr. Phillips will hang around towards the very end if you have any additional questions. We're going to go into communications and external affairs being led by our director, Gary Leftwich. And if you want to go ahead and get it started, I'm excited to hear about what you got going on.
Absolutely. Let me get my track shoes on so I can keep up with Tony's pace there. Wow.
He showed off a little bit.
You know, Tony, he's that way, but he backs it up. So that's awesome. Thanks for having us tonight, Councilwoman Gumbs, and thanks to everybody in the district. Just want to kick off with a few things that we're doing, talk about that quickly. So one of the first things to talk about is we are redesigning, reorganizing our team a bit in communication. We are a 4-member team. I am director. Recently hired is Jackie Howell, who is our senior manager, and she is in charge of our digital focus, and I call her our digital media strategist. Then we have, and we stole her from Riverdale, by the way, kind of kidnapped her when they weren't looking. Then we have Sheena Screen, who is a communication specialist that focuses on our media relations, and the charges there are to develop a bulletproof media list and really get to know and work with our media relations, our media partners. What I've found is you can generate all the great content in the world, but if you're not delivering it to them by a phone call and putting it in their hands virtually, then a lot of that work does not get seen. So her charge is to really get connected with the media and get to know them. She is leading temporarily a new effort that we have that I'll talk about later that focuses on beautification as well. And rounding out the team is Jordan Head, and Jordan is stepping up to manage an internal communication program that we're creating for the elected officials, for the staff, that lets us know what is important in the city as we do our jobs each day. And Jordan also, as you see, our title is Communication and External Affairs. Jordan will be leading the external affairs, the community relations bit as we really ramp that up. So that's the team. We operate under a new mission. Our mission is informing and engaging the residents of the city of South Fulton, and that's what we put our will and our energy to every day. As we do that, we are working on a digital focus and developing our digital arsenal of communication tools, chief of which is the website. We redid the website and launched the new updated look and feel in October. We went in and really made it more user-friendly, more attractive. With the old website, the metaphor I used was every pot, pan, and saucer and spoon were out on the counter, and it was a little confusing as to what to pick up first. We've gone in and built some cabinets, built some drawers, and organized everything in a very user-friendly, very intuitive manner. So I encourage you to take a look at that. There are different tabs. We increased the number of tabs, and they focus on government, meeting the council, meeting the mayor, on the departments, how you can pay online for different services, how you can connect with us. You can direct link to the state's municipal codes and ordinances site where you can keep up to date with our codes and ordinances. So there's a lot of links, a lot of easy access to a lot of valuable information. Building a website is not something that you complete. You're always working on that. So some of the things we're focusing on with the website is we're beefing up the calendar function on it so that we have one formal source of information for you to look at and find what meetings are going on, what events are going on. And so if you are on the website browsing, you get past all the tabs and icons, you scroll down, the next thing is the calendar. And we are committed to keeping that thing as updated as we can, to ensuring that every event and every meeting that we have is there, so you can look and at a glance be up to date on what's happening. In addition, just below that, there's a new carousel that has the latest news. There'll be 3 stories there, and then an archive where you can find the latest things that are happening, the latest policies, the latest public works projects, the latest URA projects, the latest events. News will be listed there. And so that is sort of the front page of the website, very tight, very compact. Something new that we're working on is and we're finished with it. We're in the review process. We hope to launch it next week or the week after. It's a feature called Where Your Money Goes. And this will be updated bi-weekly, if not weekly, with photos and details about key projects in the city, URA projects, capital improvement projects, from parks to fire station renovations. We also will work closely with Public Works, Antonio and his team there in Public Works, to update you on road projects, street light projects, anything like that. So it just shows where your tax dollars are spent, hence the name, Where Your Money Goes. And there will be an icon that we're putting on the front page right there, very visible, that you can click on that and see the latest on any of the Public Works or URA projects in the city. We are also creating a tab at the top of the page that is not there. It will be called Services. And those are the services that we as a city do not provide, but people, especially people new to the city, need to know about. Where do I sign up for electrical service? Where do I sign up for water? Is there, how do I get involved in elections and register to vote? How do I get in contact with an animal shelter if I want to adopt a pet? And so there will be a lot of those services there, in addition to some social and civic services like the Heart Association or Salvation Army and things that you can connect with through those organizations. So we will have that up and running soon as well. So in addition to the website we worked on first, because the process of communication is your social media, your newsletters, your next door should all drive to the website, where that should be your robust center of content. So now that we've got that, we are stepping out into our social media and looking at how we can engage and expand our audience to provide you with content that you would like to read and that you need to know. So watch as our content improves and hopefully we're more engaging and we get you the information through social media that you need. And join us on any of those channels, as well as our smartphone app. It's called It's My Town. And you can, there's right on the webpage, there's a button called Connect. And if you just click on Connect, you can join us on any of these channels. But the smartphone app, we launched in April, and the goal of it was to provide a one-stop shop for things, all the services in the city. So what you could do in a demonstration I saw is you want to know what's happening at the Wolf Creek Amphitheater that we just we're going to bring online. So you want to know what's there. You can look up in one space on the app what the event calendar is. You can buy tickets. You can schedule, you can look at the weather and see if it's going to be something you want to attend weather-wise. You can schedule an Uber. You can look for local restaurants. You can make reservations. You can buy flowers for somebody if you want to. So you can do all of these things without having to back out into Google and start over again. We thought that was a great tool. And a second component of it is it allows us to put out news alerts. It allows us to put out information, much of it like the website, on the smartphone app. And as we were really not able to take advantage of the service part of it with COVID, we have now really taken hold of the news piece of it. And we use it as a tool to put out real-time alerts about weather or road closings, or we also put out the same content that we have on social media channels. So this is another way to join us and to connect with us. It's called It's My Town. And again, you can connect right there on the Connect icon on the website. Nextdoor is another tool we use very widely. Probably our biggest tool that has the biggest audience. And we use it for the same purposes, to put out news, to put out alerts. And so you can connect with us there. So those are the tools, the electronic tools that we're developing and reaching out with. At the same time, we are trying to develop a video presence that may work into regular programming in a YouTube form down the road. And the first piece we're working on is in partnership with the City of South Fulton Police Department and Chief Keith Meadows. And it's called Now You Know. And it focuses on each episode. They're monthly episodes. It'll focus on a law or an ordinance that you may need to know about. We have covered ATV usage in the city and where you can use them and where you can't. The chief also in December did holiday safety tips, from shopping to don't put those big boxes out in front of your house because everybody knows what you got for Christmas, and that big screen TV may be attractive to someone. And then another great focus of Now You Know is to explain some of the workings of the police department. As we were developing this, there was a lot of unrest, certainly in the summer. And we thought about focusing on, okay, we need to show how we train our officers to avoid that in our city. And I got to talking with the chief, and he said something that really struck me, and that is that person needed, no training would have helped him in his job. He was not a right fit for that job. So there's an upcoming video on how we recruit officers for the city. And I was really happy to find we have some of the more stringent recruitment requirements for police officers in the state. So you can go to YouTube. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/City of South Fulton. And you can find Now You Know and a lot of our other programming there. We also know that as we are doing this digital high-tech focus, that's not everybody's cup of tea. So we are working on the email side to connect with more people via a new email list we're putting together. We have all of the HOA leaders on it now, and they will cascade down through their neighborhoods. We have the business merchants associations who can cascade down to their members, as well as the faith-based communities who can flow information to their congregations. So we're going to really focus on email communication, as old as that seems, archaic as that seems, as we go forward. And that will be just to share all of our information, all of our details, events, programs, ordinances, with the goal of one day having a citizens advisory board, a citizens ambassador board, where we meet regularly, once a quarter, once a month, and we share what's going on with the city. We share what's coming up, what our successes have been, and then we ask for feedback on what they're hearing out in their communities, and ways that we can improve our communication from the people that use it. Also, as we partner or we work into the digital realm, we also are now creating a marketing and branding program from the city. We will work closely with our economic development team to really show the image of the city, to develop the image of the city. We have just finished this week a branding style guideline for use of our city seal and our other digital city assets. We are looking and designing or proposing designs for a new city logo. Most cities have gone from official city seal. That has been elevated to official use in documents and letterhead. And they have created a more corporate style logo. And we're expect to see some proofs of some logos this week. And so we are really stepping up our identity and making sure we are speaking with one unified voice as a city. In addition, I mentioned earlier the internal program. Just briefly, since that is internal, we're developing a newsletter and a daily email blast that help us communicate the news of the day to internal staff. And that also will be a mechanism to share your views, your ideas as we hear them with staff. So that is another crucial part of our program. Switching gears a bit, we were asked by the council several months ago to develop some anti-littering messaging. And we took that, seeing that the need was much greater. And we have developed the framework for a beautification program, going by the name right now of Keep South Fulton Clean. We may tweak that. But what we have is a series of events, a series of partnerships, both with the business merchants groups, again, with businesses, with faith-based communities, as well as corporate sponsors that we're looking at some of the key businesses that will join us and speak this message of beautification and anti-litter There's several reasons to focus on a beautification effort. First, the Clean South Fulton promotes an improved quality of life for you, the residents. It also helps in attracting corporate partners, corporate citizens to the city, boosts the economic impact, which in turn brings jobs. A cleaner South Fulton will enhance tourism, and that increases revenue. And it also helps with waste reduction and recycling and making sure that our footprint is as green and as small as it can be. We hope to avoid the cleanup costs. First, cleanup is illegal dumping is unsightly and littering is unsightly, but Keep America Beautiful tells us that cleanup costs in the country total about $11.5 billion each year. So we want to do our part within the city to cut that number and promote pride in community and property and promote health and well-being. Some of the events that we've started, we launched our first one just 2 weeks ago called Get Fitter Without Litter. And we distributed some gloves, some bags, some masks, and encouraged people to, when they were out walking in the morning or out in their neighborhoods, to just pick up some garbage along the way. And it was tied to the New Year's resolution of fitness. So we did Get Fitter Without Litter. We are working on some Earth Day events to celebrate Earth Day when it comes. We are working on a Love Your City for the Valentine's theme in February, encourage businesses and cities to help clean up roadsides, to adopt a road. So that will follow in February, and in March, we will work to help promote the annual Spring Cleanup Day and the use of the opening of Merck Miles Transfer Station for dumping that we do twice a year. So we will push the cleanup day in March, and then again in April will be Earth Day and activities focused around Earth Day. That is about everything. There's so much we're working on now that we are very excited to really step up communications again with the focus of educating, informing, and engaging you, the residents. You can reach us at info@cityofsouthfultonga.gov by email. My personal email, please reach out to me, is gary.leftwich, LEFTWICH, @cityofsouthfultonga.gov. We are committed to engaging you, keeping you informed, and to do our best to ensure the world-class nature of this city and that people see that. We were so busy in the last week with scheduling interviews with Captain Andrea Hall, our fire captain, who did such an amazing job with the Pledge of Allegiance and signing it. And we connected interviewers with her from the BBC, you name it. Around the world, we were touching partners, and culminating Saturday night with the ending spot in the newscast, which is one of the premium spots of the CBS News. There was an interview with Captain Hall. So those are the things we're doing. We're busy, we're wide open, but we're never too busy to talk to you. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, email me, let me know. I'm going to step back. One of the things that we do is we're in our second semester of South Fulton U, which is our Citizens Academy. We had 100 people sign up for the initial semester of that. And if we were in person, we would have limited it to 20, 25 people. But since it was virtual, we stepped it up to 45, and we did 2 semesters to get everybody that wanted to get through. And so the team is actually doing that right now. We're featuring Parks and Rec and Public Works. And so I'm going to jump back over there and help with that. But again, any questions, feel free to email me, reach out, and we'll do everything we can to answer those.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary.
I'm out of breath, Councilwoman. I am out of breath.
I know, but guess what? I know I have to put you and Chief. Y'all running neck and neck with these presentations.
That's good company to be in.
I was saying the exact same
But
thing.
again, it was definitely she was definitely a bright shining light in the city of South Fulton, and we're very, very proud of her. And then also too, I want people to be aware about the what is it? It's Our Town app. I use that often, and I love it. Yeah, I love it.
And you can go straight to the App Store, the Apple Store, or Google Play, and you can download it from either place. And again,
Absolutely.
if you want to.
Okay, and then I also saw.
Go ahead.
No, and then I also saw your communication today about Merck Road. So you all are working on a beautification project. So definitely excited about that. Letting them know where Merck Road is and helping with our illegal dumping. And so that, thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. And I didn't mention it, but the anti-litter focus, the name of that is going to watch for it. The name will be Don't Trash South Fulton. And we hopefully in the next month or so will launch some of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
And look forward to the residents reaching out to you. All right, moving on. This is something that has been very, very hot on the temperature plate for our district and economic development. And we will have our director, Mr. Christopher Pike, will talk about some upcoming things that are happening to stimulate economic development in the city of South Fulton and in District 2. Chris, you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Well, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity, Councilwoman Gumbs. I always enjoy being able to participate in these town hall meetings. I'm not going to speak as long as Gary and Chief Meadows. You'll be straight to the point. I did normally have a three-piece suit on, but I took my tie off like Chief did. So if he can take his off, I'll take mine off too. So if we can go to the next, go ahead. I'll go back one, please. There you go. Just wanted to kind of let everybody know kind of an update of where we are, where we came from, and where we are now. As you all know, when we first started, it was the first one to do economic development in the city of South Fulton. And as when I got here, the first presentation I did to the mayor and council is the one thing that we have to do is build our economic development toolbox. And so when I first got here, we didn't have anything to really engage in economic development in a meaningful way. And so we've been working over the last 2 years, almost going on 3 years now, putting all those things in place so that we can actually bring the type of economic development that our citizens have said that they wanted. Next slide, please. And so this is really a list of the tools that we have developed over the years. And I will say that there are communities or there are cities in this state that don't have half of these things, and they've been in existence a lot longer than we have. So that's just a testament to the work that we've done, the progressiveness of our elected officials to really hone in on what are the things that we want to do around economic development, and them just really being receptive when staff brings things to them, understanding how that really plays into our being able to move the city forward in a productive way. And so just some of the things that I want to highlight and hit on this list, but they all go to us attracting those type of businesses we want in our community. But just some that I want to mention is the hotel motel tax. We were collecting that under the under Fulton County's legislation, but they changed the state law, and so we weren't able to collect without going through a process. And so we did that to be able to collect the hotel motel tax at 8%. Well, then what that did is that kicked in our having to be able to split that money with what we call a DMO, a destination marketing organization, which has to be a separate organization from the city. And so then we created the South Fulton Convention and Visitors Bureau because of that. And so the portion of that 8% that's required by law to go to the CVB, they manage that part to bring people to the community to spend money. We promote a lot of our restaurants through the CVB. We did a big partnership with our restaurants in our city through the CVB when we did the South Fulton United Fund, where we were doing meals to frontline employees that had to work when we first closed down during the pandemic. And so that's just an example of how we partner with the CVB to do things that are beneficial to the city. The CVB is getting ready to roll out a new branding campaign that will be directed towards tourism One of the things that we're going to be highlighting is the South Fulton Tennis Center, which is going to be coming on board. I think Mr. Phillips spoke about that earlier. It's Mr. Phillips' job to manage and make sure that the tennis center is prepared and ready to perform, but the CVB plays a role in helping to attract those tournaments and things to the community. And the reason why we do that, and the reason why we put CVB in economic development, is because that when those folks come here and spend that money, we then turn around and use that money invested in our facilities and invested in quality of life for our citizens. And so that's just one example how we use hotel motel tax and the CVB to do economic development. One of the other main things that we did a few months after I got here was created Destination South Fulton, and that is our economic development arm for the city. It's very similar to like Invest Atlanta or Select Fulton, but that's just our brand around economic development in the organization that kind of manages all of the overarching aspects of the city. The other thing that I'm passionate about, and the council, the mayor and council have been very focused on, is the development of small businesses. And so actually this time last year, we opened up Collab South, which is our small business resource center. And that's just an opportunity for us to cultivate entrepreneurs in our city, whether people who are trying to start a business for the first time, or if it's people that have a business, but they want to expand. One of the things that we really find is that you have people and they have a business and they have one location, and they're so focused on just running that one location that they don't ever figure out or know how to expand and to grow their business. So they have multiple locations. And so one of the things that we focus on in Collab South is also trying to help people grow and expand their business so that they can then start creating that generational wealth, is really what we're focusing on in the city from an economic development standpoint. We also just approved in October our first economic development strategic plan for the city of South Fulton. And I'm going to speak a little bit more about that later. But that plan is just going to be our roadmap of how we move the city forward the next 10, 15, 20 years around economic development. We also brought online the South Fulton Development Authority, and then just recently the Downtown Development Authority. And those entities are also organizations that we partner with that helps bring those incentives that we need to entice the type of development that we want to our community. And so you're going to be seeing a lot in the next couple of years of how those relationships with the Development Authority and the Downtown Development Authority are going to really help drive a lot of that quality of life economic development. And you'll begin to see how those plans work together and overlap. And then the other two things are the Red Oak Main Street District and the Old National Main Street District. We're excited to have those two Main Street manager positions funded in this budget. We hope to bring those folks on board here pretty shortly and get those programs moving so that we can have area focused development and strategies of revitalization in those two areas. And then I'm going to speak more on the tax allocation district on the next slide. So next one, please. As I mentioned earlier, the mayor and council approved the economic development strategic plan. You can go to the next slide. That strategic plan is, the main focus of it is to figure out where we're going to do development. And so one thing that we recognize really early on is that you're not going to do one of anything. The city of South Fulton, as far as land mass, is humongous. We're one of the largest cities as far as land mass in the state, I dare say in the country, other than larger cities like New York and LA. But 85 square miles is a tremendous amount of land to cover. Just to give you some perspective, District 4, which is the most rural district in the city, is about 35 square miles. At 35 square miles, it's still double the size of most cities in the state of Georgia. I'm talking about District 4 is double the size of most cities are about 12 to 25 square miles. So you understand just the vastness of what we're dealing with when we're talking about economic development. And so what we knew we were going to have to do is do more than one of anything. Most places they have one downtown, they focus revitalization efforts on that downtown, and that's what they spend their energy on. for us, we're going to have 9 commercial nodes. And this is what the strategic plan really spells out. Those 9 commercial nodes are evenly dispersed throughout the city. And what we wanted to make sure we were intentional, and we work with community development and regulatory affairs on this, is that we don't want to create community sprawl. So we don't, just because we have a piece of vacant dirt, we don't want to just put something on it. We wanted to be very thoughtful about how we do economic development in our community. And so we picked the nodes. So we're going to incentivize those 9 areas. And if you want to do incentives, you're going to have to do them in those areas. We're not going to be, just because there's, you know, some dirt on the intersection of a road, we're not going to put something there, because what we don't want to do is create this environment where there's just overdevelopment and you don't create that quality of life. So this gives us an opportunity to be very thoughtful about where we put things, how many of certain things we're going to have in our community, because this also, when you restrict development in these nodes like that, you avoid these situations where you build something, it gets old, and then, oh, well, we're just going to go over here and build something else. It makes people revitalize areas as opposed to just going somewhere else and creating. And to give you a great example of that is Old National, Camp Creek. So at one point, Old National was the commercial corridor on the south side. Then they opened up Camp Creek, and everything moved from Old National over to Camp Creek. And so we want to avoid scenarios like that happening in the city by really focusing and having these districts. Next slide. So once we did the strategic plan, what we do now is we layer the tax allocation district plan on top of that economic development strategic plan. So you saw those nodes that were dispersed throughout the city. Each one of those nodes are in one of 2 TADs. So they're either in the east side TAD or they're in the west side TAD. So go to the next slide, please. So our east side TAD encompasses those commercial nodes that are on Old National and Red Oak. And so those are outlined in the red here. And so what we wanted to do was be very intentional about being able to focus incentives into those areas that we said we wanted to be developed. And so everything is layered on top of one another. So you have, and all the plans speak to one another. And so even the zoning rewrite that we just went through, that is layered over the economic development plan. So when you look at that zoning rewrite plan and even the future land use plan, it's all going to speak to these 9 commercial nodes. And so everything is working in concert with one another to get us to where we want to be as it relates to quality development. And so I want to make sure we focus on that quality development, because we're not just, I tell people all the time, well, that's not enough. That's not the level that we want here. And so I have those conversations with developers all the time. So quality development, these things are going to help us get there. And so these plans and these TADs will help us to then entice the types of developments. And when I talk about developments, I'm talking about developments like gets built on the north side. So like in Avalon and Sandy Springs, those are the type of folks that we're talking to. And those are the type of people that we're trying to incentivize to come here. We're not just incentivizing anything. If you go to the next slide is going to be more focused on Council District 2, which Council District 2 actually has 2 development commercial nodes in the TAD, and most of the other districts have just 1. So I know we're on a Council 2 district town hall meeting, so I know that we want to focus on that. In the strategic plan identified where the city's town center is going to be. So where everybody's been saying since I've been here, where we're going to put City Hall, The plan, the economic development plan identified that. So when the council voted to approve the plan, they also voted to approve where town center is going to be. And so that's going to be off Camp Creek. And for the people who are in South Fulton, the best way to explain it is the area that's basically from Wolf Creek Amphitheater back towards Camp Creek. So that's where town center is going to be. That's in District 2. Also, another area in District 2 is 200-acre parcel of land that's called Riverfront District. That's also in District 2. And there's a developer that last December, so December 2019, a developer actually bought that property, and they're working to put together a plan to have community meetings and things of that nature to get input about what we want that to look like. But we anticipate that it'll be some type of quality mixed-use development that people want to see in that area. And so this is our west side TAD, and then it includes Sandtown area. So we're interested in doing some more high quality development, Sandtown, and then Campbellton, which is going to be presented to Mayor and Council. Pons is working on a joint plan with the city of Chattahoochee Hills to do a very cool and unique plan. I tell people, the way I explain it, most people who live in the area know that Campbellton was the original county seat for Campbell County, which was, when it went bankrupt, was merged with Fulton County. Then Campbellton kind of went away as a city. So what I tell people, what the plan does is it envisions what would Campbellton look like today if it had never gone away. And so that's what that plan will be. And so we also put that in a TAD as well. So we're really excited about the opportunities to do quality economic development in the city and our ability to move projects forward right now in an expeditious manner. Next slide, please. All right, so good. No, that's fire and rescue. You want to go. So what we're going to be doing, so next phases with the TAD. So the mayor and council have approved the tax allocation district. I have sent the appropriate information. We have to send that to the tax assessors because they have to set the base rate for the taxes, the property taxes. Then that has to go to the Georgia Department of Revenue as well to get certified. We're in the process now of having conversations with Fulton County and the school system because they also have to participate, and they are what we call concurring with the TAD, where they're going to also, for the lack of a better term, donate their increased tax increment to the TADs as well. And so we're in the process of having productive conversations with them to move that forward. And so we look forward to providing more updates in the future about the status of that. We had a very productive meeting with the county about the TAD. Actually, this week we have a meeting with the school system to talk to them about their participation in the TAD. And then after that, we're hoping to get them, those both government bodies to vote to participate. And so we'll keep you updated on that. And so Councilwoman Gumbs, that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. That's some exciting stuff. And you know, I get excited and goosebumps about economic development. So thank you for that. And I know if you can hang around, you may have a few questions towards the end. So thank you. And we're going to move right along. We will have up now fire and rescue. We have our interim Chief Sterling Jones, who will give us a quick update of what's happening in fire and rescue for the city of South Fulton.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I am Sterling Jones, your interim fire chief, and I want to give you guys a quick update on kind of where we are and some of our projected projects we have going on. I want to say thank you to Ms. Gumbs for allowing us to have this medium to kind of showcase some of the things that we do. Often we are kind of behind the scenes and running up and down the street with lights and sirens, and we don't have an opportunity to kind of show some of the behind the scenes things that go on in the fire department. So, so thank you for that opportunity. If you can go to the next slide. Let's stay in that one real quick. Let's stay there real quick. So one of the things we want to talk about during my presentation, I don't have that many slides, but we're going to talk a lot about some of the things we do for a community update, improvements, and safety protocols. When we're talking about that specifically, we're talking about in terms of Councilwoman Gumbs' district, we're talking about some of the apparatus upgrades. We've been in the process for the last few years of updating our fleet, and we still have a few to go. As the city of South Fulton formed, we had the misfortune of inheriting some old equipment. And so the council, with the assistance of council and city managers and the mayor, we've been able to make some significant upgrades in our fleet, and we have a little bit more to go. And so that'll be one of the things we're concentrating on. Apparatus updates is something that's just not having a pretty red fire truck to respond to. It affects your ISO, it respects our response times, it affects your response time exactly. It affects your apparatus downtime as far as how, if you're in your primary unit versus a backup unit. So there's a lot of things that tie into those upgrades that are crucial and essential to allowing us to respond in a timely manner. And so this first slide, as you see, is kind of a snapshot of just the responses in your district, Councilwoman Gumbs. And if you kind of look at it, if you see some of the calls en route and some of the average times, and some of the things that kind of jump out glaringly is some of the response times is maybe some is in 13 minutes. And those are easily explained based on the fact that you don't have a station in your district. When you start looking at that, that in its holistic, approach, anytime you have a response in your district, fire stations have to respond to your district to provide service. And that's one of those things we're going to talk about as part of your URA that we've been having discussions about, trying to get a station in your district. So that's one of the biggest things we look at. When I look at, from a fire chief's perspective, when I start looking at response times, you have to kind of break down the analytics and find out exactly why your times are a little bit skewed and why they're a little bit off. Sometimes it's a matter of not having the proper means and mechanisms to capture the information as you want to. So we could have something as significant as a new incident reporting management system, which is one of the things that's not captured in a slide presentation, but that's one of the things that Council just approved a few months ago. That new RMS is going to be crucial to allowing us to have analytics. They have actually used some data-driven decisions to find out exactly where we need to place those fire stations, how fast we're getting out of the house, because inherently we had Firehouse, which is an older software, and that software is no longer supported. So when you start looking at moving into Image Trend and Council approved us getting the suite, that's going to allow us to use mobile data terminals to kind of map and coordinate and show how well we're getting out the house. It's also going to give us those blow by blow pieces when you want to say how fast is engine such and such get into that particular territory. You can see by plot maps and kind of exactly how long it's take to get there, how fast we're getting out of the house, and some of those delays that we're probably having that those the spreadsheet is not telling you. So this is just kind of give you an overview exactly how we're doing and how we're responding. And as like I said, just kind of based on a nutshell, it gives us a benchmark, if you will, but it gives us an opportunity to have improvement. And I think all of those improvements will be done definitely within this calendar year with the onboarding of that new RMS system. We can go to the next slide, please. So we talked a little bit before about the URA. And so your district has been given $650,000 to acquisition of a new public safety, the new fire station. And so at this point, we're actually meeting with a new project manager. The new project manager is going to be meeting with all department directors, and part of that meeting is actually look at possible locations. And there's another slide that's coming next to kind of give you an idea of where you need that station. You know, it's one thing to have a need for a district, but to be able to have that station in the right location with the right resources is more important. So we used the feasibility study, we used the Georgia Tech study, we used the latest ISO, all those to kind of look at exactly where those assets and stations need to be so we can find out. And there is definitely too, I think, your location in your district where stations need to be. And so those would be the areas, once we identify that specific area, as far as land acquisition, if it's city-owned property, which is even better, exactly how we can do to actually be able to meet the needs of your district and the city at large. Next slide, please. So we talked a little bit before about using this. This is part of the Georgia Tech study. And if you look at it in general, you can kind of see some of those red areas and just kind of give you an analytical view of what you're looking at. Typically when ISO and anytime you do an assessment of a specific territory or geographic area, they look at how far an engine can travel within a certain miles and speed. If, just like an engine would be a 1.5 mile radius, a ladder truck would be a 2.5 mile radius. And so when you start to look at your coverage gaps and bubbles, you can actually see exactly where you don't have resources. So based on that last Georgia Tech study, these are the areas they identified as where you need those resources to kind of have full coverage. And so that's the biggest thing we'll use as a driver for us to make sure when we start plotting out and trying to figure out exactly where we need that fire station, this will be our guide. And from there, we'd have to kind of start to drill down to actually get to that station where we want it. So like I said, this thing will be available to you anytime you need it. And I can give more specifics and drill down further if you need further explanation. I know I'm kind of talking fast through, but I want to make sure I don't miss any of those points that we're doing. So you can go to the next slide. So this is going to be kind of getting close where I am, and I'll just kind of talk a little bit about what the rest I have based on notes. So this before was talking about our gaps in coverage. We started looking at analyzing the city of South Fulton in large. And as Mr. Pike illuminated, that we have 85 square miles. So when you start to look at the area and how much a fire station can cover, being able to cover that from north, south, east, and west, there's a lot of areas that we have to cover as far as being able to provide to get down to those times that are closer to that national standard, which is closer to 5, 6, or 7 minutes is where our targets where we want to be. But in order to get there, we just have to come with a focused plan and kind of stay true to that plan to kind of get us where we want to be. So the fire department is, we have so much stuff going on at any given time and all of these things kind of tie into exactly kind of giving you that optimal service. We're talking about, from the URA to the fire station placements and to the image trends and the tech studies and a lot of those social programs. All of this is to provide the best service we can for the citizens of South Fulton. And so I just want to make sure that you and the citizens also know that we don't sit here and just rest on our laurels and, look at us that we go out and put fires out. That's more than what we do. We don't just sit by in the lazy boy chairs and kind of relax. We are definitely hard at it, and we have the most dedicated women and men, I would say, in the city. We're passionate about what we do, but these are just things that, this is why I'm so appreciative of this opportunity, because you're giving us an opportunity to kind of show you what we do just on in a PowerPoint slide. And we haven't even talked about some of the community things we're doing. Just kind of briefly, some of the things we talked about, well, I'll talk about, is we're trying to partner with Fulton County School System to come up with a Youth Explorer program. And that's something that's it's still in developmental stages right now. But right now we're looking at possibly having the youth to have a conduit to kind of do what we do. The biggest things we look at as far as trying to get the number of students involved and getting them to kind of do. I mean, I've been doing this job for over 35 years. Pretty much the only thing I've ever done since I was 21. And I can always say that these kind of things weren't possible back when we were coming up through. So being able to go out and get the kids in high school and kind of teach them some of those skills. And now I think we can even teach them EMT at 16 now. So as we go in and still, and I'm kind of talking before the kind of pen hits the paper, but our initial plans written in pencil is that we're going to start teaching kids some EMT skills. So by the time they graduate school, they'll be first step in becoming a firefighter. So all we have to do is put them to the fire academy. We have a job opportunity in the conduit to kind of move them on from high school, kind of move into fire school and actually being a firefighter. So those are the things that I'm really excited about, because this is something the city of South Fulton has never had. And so this will be something that we can kind of hang our hat on and say, this is what we want to do, because this is something the council's asked for. And I really wasn't sure exactly based on the expectations, how fast we could pull this off, but I'm actually pleased that we're actually getting some traction on that initiative. So that'd be something I'm really glad about. And so also there's a few things that we still have left to do. I mean, no list will be complete, at least during my tenure. We still have to work on a Citizens Fire Academy and some other things we talked about during the last budget cycle. But just being able to accomplish these things right now is just, I'm amazed, and I can kind of see exactly the pace in which we're going. Sometimes I think we work at a frantic pace, but it's just so much stuff to do. You know, you can't sit back and just rest and exhale, but seeing the apparatus upgrades and the facilities and the new RMS and the Explorer programs and the URA, and I mean, it's just so much stuff that we have to do, and all have to be done now. I think that's the biggest thing about it, is because the needs of the community are so great that we can't take time to just sit back and, you know, kind of cherry pick a little bit. We have to kind of get all these stuff done. So my staff is they're jam up. You know, I can be honestly say that I'm pleased by the pace in which we're getting stuff accomplished, and I look really forward to the future and what's next for the fire department. Hopefully I didn't speak too fast and kind of give you, but I had a lot on my little plate and only had a few slides. So I wanted to make sure I kind of all out before I forget something.
I think you did very well. You hit on some key points, the Georgia State study, and then also to the 650,000 that's allocated for a fire station training center in District 2. So I think
Yes,
that's what we're excited about and can't wait to start coming to fruition. So thank you for your service. You all, like I said, have done a wonderful job, especially with Captain Andrea Hall at the helm of showcasing our fire department. So thank you so much. So if you want to hang around, you can. I think, you know, there might be some questions as far as what's happening with fire. So, all right.
Ms. Gumbs, I want to tell you before I glow. Once we'll try to keep you updated on some of the progress. I know some of the things that we do in just kind of working in vacuum. We don't keep you updated on some of the things. So as we meet with those project managers and, you know, the city manager concurrence, we'll kind of keep you an update, a Gantt chart, if you will, so you can kind of see the progress we're doing. Because I don't want to give you the impression that we've been just sitting on this 650 and we haven't done anything, because I can see the smile. I know. But we are working. Yes, ma'am. We are working. But right now, we're just trying to find a way to get it in. This project manager is definitely going to help us. He's going to be able to focus us into a direction and kind of move us where we're supposed to be as far as that initiative is concerned.
Well, thank you, Chief. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
All right. So moving on. Also, too, I want to bring up our police chief, Keith Meadows. Chief, you have about maybe 5 minutes to condense all of that you're going to say.
So I'm actually watching the clock for you, Councilwoman, because I know that Gary Leftwich and Tony Phillips ate up all my time. So I'm going to try to be brief. Well, I will be brief, I promise.
Okay.
So 2020 was kind of presented some unique challenges for not just law enforcement, but, you know, throughout the country. And as we got closer to the election season, we got some really unique challenges. I'm proud to say that we have a really strong relationship with the Department of Homeland Security. We were in constant contact with them about threats that were occurring nationally. Fortunately, knock on wood, we didn't have any in South Fulton, but we were working with police departments around the metropolitan area to try to monitor a lot of the activity that was taking place. And so we'll continue that and making sure that we have open dialogue with our chiefs in the area. I want to talk a little bit about crime first. 2020, we did have a very good year with respects to crime. We wound up the year 17% down as opposed to this time last year. We had a goal of trying to reduce violent crime in 2020, and we met that goal. We wound up with a 10% overall reduction in violent crime throughout the city of South Fulton. And I'm proud to say that District 2 had a 58% overall reduction in violent crime. We wound up with 203 total crimes in District 2 as opposed to 301 this time last year, which was a 33% overall reduction in crime in District 2. There was, I could go through some of these figures. We had 13 aggravated assaults as opposed to 31 this time last year. We had 16 burglaries as opposed to 29 burglaries this time last year. I think our biggest reduction was in larceny from vehicles. We had 47 as opposed to 81 this time last year. And so we're really happy to see those sort of reductions. You heard Chief Sterling talk a little bit earlier about the Georgia Tech study. one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we looked at this year was our beat alignment, and we wound up adding 2 beats. You all may have remembered me mentioning once before, we had 8 beats in the city of South Fulton, and we inherited those beats from Fulton County, and they had not been redone since 1971. Georgia Tech said that we should have at least 18 patrol beats. And so this year we were able to add 2 beats overall. So we went from an 8 beat alignment to a 10 beat alignment, and we added a beat in the area that touches districts 2, 3, and 4. And so if you could imagine that area around there, we wanted to make sure that we got a maximum impact around that particular area. And we added another beat to the District 7. Now, District 7 presents some unique challenges because it kind of sits on an island by itself. So it presents some challenges geographically, but we were able to reduce our response times in the city of South Fulton by a little over 18%. And that's something that we were really proud of, considering the challenges that we had all of last year. At some point, we lost about 15% of our overall workforce due to the pandemic. And we saw some adverse impact with respects to our response times, but we were able to still come in with some reductions. We were able to add 18 new police officers to the force this year. We expected to have even more than that, but as you could imagine, the pandemic kind of hampered a lot of those recruitment activities. We weren't able to get out and about nearly as much to recruit. We will start trying to ramp up a lot of our recruitment efforts as we move forward. A lot of our, I think about a third of our workforce has been vaccinated, and we're trying to work to make sure that we get even more vaccinated as those resources become available. I want to talk a little bit about street racing. So I met with about 10 police chiefs from around the Atlanta metropolitan area. And one of the things we talked about was the lack of communication between the various jurisdictions. And so we sat down and started really trying to strategize how we would go about trying to impact this. Now, I know the mayor and council has some street racing legislation that's come before the body that's up for consideration. We've talked to our state legislators about the possibility of putting some really stringent legislation in place that allow us to suspend driver's license for first-time offenders, and actually looking at the possibility of even seizing the vehicles of these individuals that are involved. Well, one of the things the chiefs and I discussed was ways that we can kind of communicate to a much higher degree, because we didn't feel that was taking place. And I'm proud to say this weekend, I got a call from Sandy Springs. They said they had a bunch of street races coming up there, and they were monitoring social media and said that they were coming our way. They said that they were coming to the Buffington Center. And so we called in our traffic unit. By the time the racers got down there, we had about 4 or 5 of our traffic units waiting down there for them. The person on social media came back and told us, well, now they're getting ready to go over to the racetrack on Camp Creek Parkway. We notified East Point. Because it's so close to our jurisdiction, we was able to meet East Point there, and they left there and went to the city of Atlanta. And so that process worked the way that it was supposed to work. What we really want to do, and I don't think that the enforcement piece of it is the big problem. Anybody that can go out and burn out $400 tires, they're not really concerned about paying a traffic ticket. And so one of the things we want to do is make sure that as we go forward with these pieces of legislation, that we're working with our state legislators to try to put some really heavy penalties behind being involved in this sort of activity, because we know that it's caused citizens in South Fulton some angst. I've gotten the phone calls. I've gotten phone calls from your council people about it. And I want you all to know that it's not lost on us, the magnitude of this particular event that's taking place inside of our city. And so we're going back and we're looking at a lot of our intelligence and how we go about gathering the intelligence, because that's the biggest piece of it. We'll find out if we find them on one site, then they'll go to another site. And so it's kind of like playing whack-a-mole with the internet. but we're trying to put together a really robust platform that allows us to monitor a lot of these underground sites and be able to distribute the intelligence kind of in a meaningful way so that a lot of the police departments will know when this sort of activity is coming their way. And that's been the biggest challenge, getting the intelligence and making sure that our people are in position to try to help deter some of these activities. After that, the social distancing and the social distancing ordinance, I'm getting calls about that as well. I've gotten several complaints about some of the businesses throughout the city of South Fulton that's not monitoring that. We're trying to work with the fire department. We're working with the code enforcement to try to make sure that we have a comprehensive approach to dealing with these businesses, to try to make sure as we move forward, it just all doesn't rest in one area. And what we'd like for our citizens to do, and many of our citizens have been very good about this, when you see some of these businesses and violations, please pick up the phone and call us, because what I'll do is I'll get on Facebook and I'll see it posted on Facebook and no one's notified the police department, or I'll see it on Nextdoor and nobody's notified the fire department. We go around to a lot of the different businesses, but we need more eyes and ears out there, because our police officers, they have 911 calls that they're going to. And if a 911 call comes in with respects to the social distancing, they're going to respond to that and we're going to deal with it. And so it's nice to put stuff on social media. I'm not telling you not to do that, but also pass the information along more meaningfully, because it helps our police officers be able to go in and deal with it. And I've told our commanders, under no circumstances are we going to leave a business and allow them to be in violation. So if you see things, please make sure you pick up that phone and notify the police department. It doesn't matter to me if you call 911 to do it. It doesn't matter to me if you call our non-emergency number. My preference would be that if you see something like that, to just go ahead and call 911, because that's something that we're taking very seriously right now. And outside of that, Councilwoman, I think that's it for me.
Did you want to talk just a little bit about the 21st century model, the
Yes.
model?
So one of the things that we're sitting down and we're taking a look at, we're looking at our police practices. And when you look at what's happening nationally, law enforcement is under a great deal of scrutiny, and we understand that. We've looked at a lot of our policies. We've uploaded a lot of our policies in a digital format, and we send out our policies every quarter to make sure that we're operating under the best practices when it comes to law enforcement in general. We're looking at our use of force policies. We're looking at our chase policies. We're looking at a lot of different things in an effort to try to make sure that we're not just doing the bare minimum, but we want to make sure that we're also being thoughtful in the development of these policies. And that's one of the things that I challenge our commanders with. We have some council members that have put certain pieces of legislation in place that help in terms of police reform. And we're not shying away from that. We don't mind being, the first to try certain things, but certainly when we sit down and look at a lot of our policies and protocols, we're doing a lot of these things. What we're not doing a very good job of is making the general public aware of what those policies are. And what we're getting ready to do, we've uploaded all of our policies into a digital format. Eventually, a majority of our policies will be available for public view. And those are things that we're not trying to hide from the public. We just want to make sure that as we're going through and we're developing our policies, that we've looked at every aspect of our policy to make sure that they're up to date and with the best practices currently. And so we're very proud of the processes that we put in place, and we want to make sure that we solicit feedback from our citizens when it comes to policy development. And that's something I think that we should do more of in law enforcement, and that's something that we just haven't done in the past.
Oh, I was on mute. That was good. Also, too, ATVs. If you can just touch on a little bit on that. We've made some strides, and you can share with the residents what we've accomplished in our pursuit of trying to curb down some of this
So
behavior.
one of the things that we found was that the service roads, you all heard Christopher Pike talk about, the amount of undeveloped land in South Fulton. And with that comes a lot of these service roads where a lot of the ATV riders, they'll get on these service roads and they'll just ride, and they dump into a lot of our subdivisions. We have over 400 subdivisions. And what happens is they'll go into subdivisions, they'll do donuts, and people will call really understandably upset. But one of the things we did was we reached out to Georgia Power, and Georgia Power has given us the authority to levy charges against those individuals that are found on a lot of these service roads for criminal trespass. And so if you're ever at home and you hear ATVs on these service roads, again, I would ask you to pick up the phone and call 911 and be as descriptive as you possibly can when it comes to where the sound is coming from. I know with a lot of these service roads, because they're very hilly, sometimes that sound will travel and it's difficult to pinpoint. But if you can be as descriptive as you possibly can, it would help responding units tremendously when they come to the area. We've on several occasions deployed drones when it comes to dealing with the ATVs. That's something that's been very fruitful for us. We're going to continue to do that. We have 6 drone pilots in the police department now. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that we have those drones on every shift so that when our citizens call, that we're able to instantly put those devices up and around in the area. Another thing that we're deploying are license plate readers throughout the city. In fact, we had a shooting incident on Old National a couple of weeks ago where the minute the shooting happened, the perpetrator drove by one of the license plate readers, and we were actually able to solve that case in almost 5 minutes. That's the sort of technology that we really want to start deploying more heavily. And we certainly also want to put those along those arteries like Butner Road. We want to start putting them along Camp Creek Parkway, South Fulton Parkway, and areas of that nature so that we can start gathering intelligence to a much higher degree. And so the ATVs, we've had some pretty good success with respects to enforcement. We're still nowhere near where we want to be. We're still trying to figure out ways to ramp up the intelligence, because a lot of these ATV riders, they'll get on the internet also and plan where they're going to meet. And so if our citizens are aware of those congregating locations, please make us aware of those. I know our councilwoman called us one time and we were able to get about 7 or 8 of them at one particular location. So that information helps out a great deal.
And there's a tips line that is on your website for ATVs as well. So definitely, if you have an opportunity, residents, please go and get the number so you can make that phone call. And lastly, Chief, I'm gonna let you off the hot seat, but can you just briefly, because I get calls all the time about the school cameras.
Okay.
These tickets. I know you're on the hot seat because they get you on Facebook all the time. But if you could just briefly touch on that, and then I'll let you go.
So the thing about the school cameras, we've had an 86% reduction in speeding through our school zones. The cameras have had the desired effect. And when I say we've had an 86% reduction, last month, we still had 45,000 violations. That's still a lot. We had one vehicle that sped through a school zone at 80 miles an hour. That was with the flashing light. I've told our citizens our goal here is not to make money, and that's contrary to what I keep seeing on Facebook and a lot of the social media. This is just a money grab. Our goal is to have citizens slow down in our school zones. I can't tell you how many complaints I've gotten since I first got here 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, about the amount of speeding through our school zones. And one of the things that I was committed to, that I'm still committed to, is leveraging technology to create efficiencies within the police department. Now, I wish we had a police officer that we could put in every school zone and let them do nothing but sit there and write traffic tickets throughout the course of the day. I want to tell you the difference. If a police officer writes that ticket is $350. Those cameras, they're $100. I don't want your money, but if you give it to me, I'm gonna spend it. And it's just that simple. So don't give it to me. Just slow down when you're coming through those school zones, because I mean the most important thing is that our children have a safe environment, and certainly those school zones are supposed to be just that. And so, I understand everybody's reluctance, but the city of South Fulton is not the only jurisdiction that's deployed those cameras. They're in Alpharetta, they're in Roswell, they're in the city of South Fulton. Henry County has them now. And so they're going to be popping up in we were just one of the first jurisdictions in the Atlanta metropolitan area to get them. And we levied that technology in an effort to try to tap down some of the complaints that we were getting about speeding in our school zones.
Okay, and Chief, did you mention an app where they can come, where residents can report the ATVs? Did you mention an app, or did they go to the website?
They can go to the website and make those. And we have a P2C, a police to citizen link on there where they could go in and put tips. They can make reports. There's a lot of different things that they can do in that app.
Okay, I think that's what we're looking for. And one other thing, truck enforcement with your staff, and then that'll be it.
Okay, so we have a 6-man traffic unit, and they work along a lot of the main arteries. They go along Butner Road. They go, I believe, Pittman, in the area of Pittman. We have a lot of complaints about tractor trailers going down through there. We try to stage up along those routes where a lot of the warehouses are located. And believe it or not, everybody thinks that they're in South Fulton, but a majority of them are in Union City. They just travel through the city of South Fulton. And so last year, I believe we wrote, when it came to tractor trailer drivers, we wrote 258 citations for violations of our truck route. We want to make sure that we continue to those sort of enforcement, but we've worked with a lot of the we've reached out to some of the GPS providers. Certainly there's hundreds of them to try to make sure that we were trying to get our truck route embedded in those GPS coordinates, but there's just so many of them out there right now that it's difficult to hit all of them. But we'll continue to sit down and work with the warehouses. We've met with management at a number of the warehouses to try to make their drivers aware of what our truck routes are and where they're prohibited from going. But it seems that that's going to be an ongoing effort.
Well, definitely. Thank you so much. I just wanted to touch on that so we can definitely share with the residents of what you all are doing. You all are doing an incredible job with the resources that you have. So thank you. If you want to hang around and pick up some questions towards the end, I appreciate it.
I'll be here.
We're going to move into our last presentation of the evening. I believe it's the last, which is Public Works, which is probably the biggest. I think they get so many emails from me, but definitely we will have, is it Anu, are you going to be speaking, or will we have Mr. Valenzuela? I think I saw Mr. Valenzuela.
Yes, I'll be speaking, Ms. Gumbs.
All right, well, you can take it away.
Good evening, Ms. Gumbs and residents of District 2. It's my pleasure to update to you all on what Public Works is doing for the past 2 years from the inception of Public Works. To start with, I would like to reiterate a few things that our colleagues have mentioned with regards to what Public Works does in relationship with communications, PD, fire, parks, and so on. Our main task for Public Works is to maintain 544 miles of paved roads. We still have 20 miles of unpaved roads, 59 bridges and culverts, 54 signalized intersections, 24 school zone flashing lights, 18 flashing caution lights. We also have 2 halt signals. We are also in charge of fleet maintenance of about over 290 vehicles and equipment. The Merck Miles transfer station, 37 facilities. Within those, 9 fire stations, 17 parks, 4 police precincts, 2 art centers, 1 public safety, a city hall, administration building, and others. Plus, almost about 10,000 street lights for the city of South Fulton. Within those things, we also are in charge of implementing TIS Plus that was approved in 2016 by Fulton County. We've been very successful in the implementation process, and 2020-21 should be a better year for each district within the city, since we finally finalized contracts with consultants, contractors, and federal aid fund projects, ARC, Georgia DOT, and so on. The city became an LAP certified, so we can run projects by ourselves and not depend on anybody else. A few things that I would like to mention to you all before getting into the detail of the presentation. With regards to solid waste, we typically have done 2 events to keep City of South Fulton clean. Last year, due to the pandemic, we've done 1 in the fall, not in the summer, and then another 1 in the fall. This year, in 2021, we're going to do it 1 in the spring and 1 in the fall. For the spring, we will be announcing in the next month or so when we will do the next event. And the past, right after Christmas, we also had a free Christmas tree pickup at Merck Miles, which was also successful. And as we're moving along, we'll be doing other things with Merck Miles. At this point, we have a request for proposal on Merck Miles, where we're trying to change the model that we have currently, which we had received from Fulton County. It was inherited by Fulton, but now we are in a position to perhaps take a different look at and see how we can serve better the residents of the city of South Fulton. With regards to URA projects, we just issued a notice to proceed to a new project manager. So we have $10.5 million for facility projects amongst all the diverse types of facilities that that the city of South Fulton owns. You will see in the next months a few projects coming up already. We'll be going into procurement, and slowly we'll be going into specific areas in each district. We will be concentrating on the Cliftondale area for District 2, and I will be sharing that with Councilwoman Gumbs and all the residents in District 2. On TIS Plus projects, we're going to be bidding out resurfacing projects for subdivisions and corridors, possible starting early next week. Right now, the invitation to bid is under review by our procurement office. As soon as they review it, it will be going out to the street. And we're looking forward to start resurfacing again projects throughout the city of South Fulton, starting, I will say, late March or early April. And one of the main projects that we have in District 2 will be Butner Road. It will be resurfaced from Campbellton-Fairburn Road to the city of Atlanta's limits, as well other subdivisions within the district, such as Cannon Trace, Cannon Walk, Cannon Woods. I believe we also have the Cliftondale subdivision, and Parkland Woods, Point Bedra subdivision, Thaxton Reserve, and so on. So what we're trying to do this year is that we're going to bid a project for 2020 on the list, as well as for a project from 2021. So if funds are available, we might be able to do it right after 2020. If not, we're going to be letting 2020 projects in the spring of this year and 2021 in the spring of next year. We also have started a master plan, the street light master plan for the city of South Fulton. We'll be looking for 2 stakeholders that can represent the team for each district. It's a study that's going to take about 9 to 12 months, and we're looking forward to work with the entire community and absolutely with District 2. I totally understand that the Public Works website, it's not the desired Public Works website that I would like to see it. It's not our representation. It's not what I like to see for the city of South Fulton, and I'm working with the Director of Communications to revamp our website. I do not want to only put pictures or update on projects. We do a lot on Public Works. It is time for us to brighten out everything that we do and to share with the community properly and be more effective and have the community coming to us to a quicker method instead of emails or cyclic fix and so on. We want to bring to them ways on how they can act along with us to a better website for Public Works. We also have the MS4. MS4 is a new way to maintain the waters clean throughout the city of South Fulton. We're looking forward to start this process in the next upcoming budget for the city of South Fulton. We want to preserve all our waters as clean as possible. There will be educational programs coming in. We will be doing much more cleaning of our gutters, inlets, and so on. And we'll be discussing further on how we can implement those things. With regards to who does all this stuff for Public Works, the Transportation Division has a director, myself. I have a deputy director, and I have a program manager and an administrative staff. With regards to facilities, I have one maintenance manager and 3 staff. For fleet, 1 fleet manager and 3 maintenance staff. And we have the support from Jacobs, who does operations and maintenance. And we're looking forward to get additional staff so we can do much better for you all. And we'll be looking forward possible at the next upcoming budget with better things for the city of South Fulton. Now, with regards to current projects that we have on for District 2. Butner Camp Creek, it's an intersection improvement as well as Butner over Camp Creek. So Butner over Camp Creek is the bridge replacement, and next to it is the intersection. So it will be led as one project. Currently, the project is in final design, and we are acquiring the rights of way for the project. As soon as we complete the rights of way, we're going to be ready to let the project to construction. We're doing everything to acquire the rights of way, and hopefully we don't hit any issues with property owners. The consultants have done already title research. We're done with appraisals of proper parcels, and we'll be going into each property owner and see how we can discuss acquisition of the needs for those 2 projects. That will be for Butner over Camp Creek and Butner at Camp Creek. So it is our intention to complete the acquisition by the spring of this year, and right after we should be ready to start advertising the ATB and start discussing how we're going to let that project to construction. The next project is Inland Road Sidewalks. The main issue in this project was acquisition of 6 parcels that are still pending. We have a consultant working on those 6 parcels. It is our intention not to go into condemnation. So we have directed our consultants to negotiate those parcels and hopefully complete those, so we can go into the bidding stage and let the project as it is, and being able to construct the needed sidewalks on Inland Road. Next page, please. Butner and Stonewall Tail Road. It is the dual roundabout. It is going to be the first dual roundabout in the state of Georgia. I'm very confident that there's a new approach and newest roundabout that will be successful for the Cliftondale area. At this point, We're only expecting at any time the notice to proceed from the Georgia Department of Transportation. As soon as they provide the city the notice to proceed, we'll be scheduling a pre-construction meeting with the contractor, and we'll be letting that project to construction anytime. We're expecting a call, an email from the state, and we're going to be acting very quickly to let the project to construction. The city already approved the lowest bidder with the Piedmont contractors, and there's nothing else pending than to let the project and start working on that project. But in Camp Creek Parkway, it is the intersection that I mentioned that goes along with the Butner over Camp Creek. Butner Union Road, it's a new TS Plus project. The project is in final design, which includes utility relocation, rights of acquisition, and so on. We have about 10 parcels, and we're looking to complete acquisition sometime around July. And as soon as the acquisition is completed, we're going to be letting the project to construction. Old Fairmont Union Road, the project has 8 parcels that needs to be acquired. We're looking at August completion of the rights of acquisition, and right after, we're going right away into ITB and construction letting. Can you slide down, move up a bit more on Butner at Piedmont Road? Okay, all right. We have Butner at Piedmont, Inner Road at Stonewall Tail, and Stonewall Tail at Jones Road and Piedmont Road. So those 3 new projects that we just let for District 2, those projects we just completed the traffic studies and conceptual on design that was let in December of last year. And the next step will be meetings with the community in District 2. We're going to have most likely virtual meetings, and you will have ample time and advertisement on the roads, so you can have your comments, and we will be sharing with you on the conceptual approaches for those 3 intersections, which is Butner at Piedmont Road, Enon at Stonewall Tail, and Stonewall Tail at Jones Road, Piedmont Road. So those are 3 new projects for the District 2. Next slide, please. Campbellton at Butner and Stonewall Tail. It's a project that has been under design. We have worked with the developers. We are under final on design. Preliminary field plan review was held on December 10. We just received right-of-way plans on the project. We have about 7 parcels that need to be acquired. We're going to do everything we can to negotiate 4 parcels with 2 developers that were impacted by the design and their development, and 3 parcels that were impacting private property. So as soon as the right-of-way plans are reviewed and we are in a position to negotiate with a consultant, they will be going into the acquisition of those 4 parcels, and hopefully we should be able to go to construction letting sometime this year. With that, I believe in summary, it is what transportation, facilities, fleet, and operations and maintenance does for public works. I try to be as quickly and as brief as possible, since the rest of my colleagues took over the time. So Ms. Gumbs, I turn it back to you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Valenzuela, and I definitely appreciate it, especially under your circumstances. So thank you for showing up tonight. But what I want to do now is take a few moments to get some questions out of the chat. Joy, do we have some questions that are in the chat?
Yes, we do. One of the first questions we have was for Chief Sterling. Is the city working with new builders to update addresses of new construction? When I called for a fire truck last month, they couldn't find my home. It was very scary.
Yeah, we're working with a lot of those addresses and stuff. For business or residential, is that specifically where she's asking, what they're asking?
For residential, yes, sir.
Yeah, there shouldn't be an issue as far as being able to find a location. Most of those are locked in through GIS or whatever. So I don't see an occasion where we can't find an address. I think some of the biggest issues is depending on, some people may say College Park, but depending on where you are in those specific areas, you may or may not be exactly in the city or not. So I don't see a reason why it is, but if you've ever have any issues with providing service, I think the best thing to do was to reach out to us, because we were pretty diligent on making sure we interface with the customers. And I can't recall an address that we couldn't be able to find. You have to at least tell them it's in or out of the city. So I'm not exactly sure what it is, but if they ever have an issue like that again, just make sure they reach out and have them contact me. You know, my number's right. My number's on the city website and my email address. So just have them reach out to me directly.
Probably what's happening in that instance, Chief Sterling, is that the when the 911 dispatchers look, they're not seeing it as a geocoded address in our system.
Correct.
If it's possible, can that person send us their address so that we can make sure that our GIS specialist has it within our corporate city limits?
We'll make sure that happens.
Okay.
Yeah. Because most of the addresses, everything is done through shape files. And that's the biggest thing takeaway is just map overlays. So some issue like that happens, it may or may not be off slightly. But yeah, but definitely between Chief Meadows and I, we can make sure. And like I said, our GIS folks are pretty jammed up. And we can make sure that they can get the information or the assistance that they need.
Okay. The next question is, are the potholes on Cascade Palmetto going to be fixed? And what about the repainting of the lines on Cascade Palmetto?
On Cascade Palmetto, we just researched Cascade Palmetto, but I definitely would like to see at what location are the potholes at in, as well as thermoplastic was installed already, but there is a little section before getting into Chattahoochee Hills, which that might be the case, that doesn't belong to the city of South Fulton. However, if I have more specifics on Cascade Palmetto, I'll be glad to look into any potholes that should be under still warranty if it's on the recent site that we resurfaced last year, just recently.
Okay.
Then also too, residents can go and put in C-Click Fix. I believe that is where you all are monitoring the request for potholes. If you can go to the City of South Fulton C-Click Fix and put in that request, then they will follow right back up with you. Next question.
The next question is for Mr. Pike. Mr. Pike, why are projected home values in East Side TAD valued the same as home values in West Side TAD at 300,000? How is this going to attract the fine dining and other upscale businesses?
So I think for clarity purposes, trying to get my camera come back. For clarity purposes, the values of the TAD not necessarily equate to the quality and types of businesses that you're going to attract to the district. So I think we use the TAD to incentivize and create those revenues to help participate in those projects, but they're not necessarily equated to the types of restaurants because of the value of the TAD. I hope that answers the question.
Most of the restaurants, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Pike, they're basing it off of demographics and the amount of income.
Correct.
And the rooftops.
So, yeah, so that won't. So the TAD is not directly related to the demographics of the area. So I think that's what we need to separate those out. So the demographics is really what determines the types of businesses you get to come to an area. And that's what I tell folks. And demographics, not just, ethnic demographics or income. There's a whole lot of things that a business will look at before they come.
Number of rooftops.
Yeah, right. Amount of rooftop drive time is one. How many people live in a specific area? So I don't think that, you don't want to equate the numbers that you see from a financial perspective from the TAD to the same numbers or the types of demographic numbers that you'll see in a district.
Thank you, Mr. Pike.
Mhm.
The next question is for Councilwoman Gumbs. What is your position on the Pulte and Proterra projects proposed for District 2? These projects have a higher density and lower priced homes that will lower existing property values.
So, Joy, my internet went out with you just mentioning. Can you repeat that question?
Yes, ma'am. They wanted to know, what is your position on the Pulte and Proterra projects proposed for District 2? These projects have a higher density and lower price homes that will lower existing property values. And they feel like it's having a lot of overcrowding in roads that cannot support the existing homes that are already there.
So I think I've pretty much made my position known as how I feel about development coming into the area. Definitely, I am looking for quality development, and then also to making sure that we are able to maintain our property values. I'm very sincere in the fact of me not bringing junk into the district. I do also understand that we are in a unique position where our development is happening before all of our infrastructure and things are in place, but these are issues that we inherited from the county. And we're also on this front end of the city trying to rectify those issues. So as of right now, those cases have not come in front of me. Yes, I have listened into some of the information that residents have shared, but also at the same time, those cases have not come in front of me. I do believe that the staff is actually reviewing those cases. And at this point in time, I don't have a decision on them. I will do what is right by the city, the people of South Fulton, and also to what is right within the law. So if that answers your question, you are more than welcome to reach back out to me and we can have further dialogue.
Thank you. The next question is, does the city have a severe weather emergency siren? If so, how often is it tested? And also, what does the city do to monitor domestic terror threats directed at our majority AA city?
I think that's a twofold question for the chief and the city manager. I don't know who wants to jump at it first.
Can you repeat the first part of the question?
They wanted to know, what is the city doing to monitor domestic terror threats directed at our majority city of Atlanta?
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'll let you answer that question before I do the other one.
Okay, so one of the things we put in place was a civil disturbance plan within the police department. And the biggest part of that deals with the gathering of intelligence. And so whenever we get intelligence that's coming in with respects to potential threats, it doesn't necessarily have to be towards the city of South Fulton, but if it comes into the Atlanta metropolitan area, then the first thing we do is we'll get on the phone with the Department of Homeland Security and try to coordinate our efforts. When the protests happened in the city of Atlanta, the city of South Fulton sent police resources to help deal with those, because what we didn't want is for those protests to find their way into the city of South Fulton. And so it's important for us to be able to contain that. And the biggest part of that is the civil disturbance plan and the unusual occurrence plan that we also put in place to help deal with that. And so, you know, to that end, we have a very good relationship, and I mentioned that earlier, with the Department of Homeland Security, but we also have our intelligence analysts doing nothing but monitoring social media all the time, looking for potential threats.
And I can definitely vouch for that, because you let us know when there are definite threats in the area. Tammy, I'm sorry.
I think the second part of that question was, do we have any weather sirens?
Do we have
Yes.
a severe weather emergency siren? And if so, how often is that tested?
We don't have any, from my understanding, here in the city of South Fulton. However, you know, maybe Fulton County Emergency Management may have some. I see the chief shaking his head, so do you have any more to add to that? But, you know, to answer the question, no, the city of South Fulton, we don't operate any weather sirens.
Yeah, that's correct. I can add a little bit of more information to that. Currently, right now, we're in the process of developing our emergency management team, and that emergency sirens and the notification, all that stuff will be part of our initial plan as we get further downstream. Right now, we do fall under AFSEMA, which is kind of that Fulton County aspect of it. So they're going to be the main driver in a lot of the things we do. Our plan will be more localized to our geographical area specifically on how we'll do things as far as tornado coming through the city or whatnot. But we would still kind of fall under that AFSEMA umbrella, but we would just kind of be like an offshoot of that. So I don't believe we have any sirens either, unless Chief Meadows, you guys know if anything more than that. I'm just not aware of any or any testing.
I think we utilize red alert when things happen. We're able to blast things out to our citizens. But as far as the sirens, no.
I don't think so. Sorry, sirens specifically, no. I don't believe you.
No, we don't have sirens, but I do believe that we have started working very closely with the communications department. You'll see now that we're moving a lot faster as far as predicting severe weather and getting communication out to the residents. So that is my last understanding in regards to that. All right, next question. We have a few more minutes for some additional questions.
Okay. The city has been using somewhat of a passive approach to enforcing the truck ordinance. Does the city have plans to use a more active, consistent approach in 2021? And also, are they going to regulate the construction trucks coming through the subdivisions?
Well, I wouldn't say that we have a passive approach. I mean, our traffic units, we've dedicated 6 officers that do nothing but work traffic. And so does that mean that no truck is going to get on the truck route where they're not supposed to be? No, that's not going to happen. And the same is, I mean, we have those same traffic people out, and that's not to say that people aren't going to speed because they're out there also. Fighting the truck traffic coming through our truck routes is going to be a constant problem. I mean, and it's something that's never going to go away because every jurisdiction deals with it to some degree. I would like to say that we have a more proactive approach because we've dedicated resources to dealing with that issue, among other issues, speeding, distracted driving. We make sure our traffic unit has a comprehensive approach to it. We want to make sure that we're doing our part to try to curtail the dangerous environment that occurs along our streets. The city council people have heard me say this repeatedly. We had 19 people die on the streets of South Fulton last year in vehicle accidents. Well, that number is way too high. And so can we just focus on trucks? No. Can we just focus on speeders? No. We have to take a really comprehensive approach as it relates to traffic to try to make sure that we're impacting our road system in the best and most comprehensive way possible.
Okay. And they want to.
And Chief, you were definitely instrumental in our relationship with GDOT and us having conversations in regards to the violent crashes that were occurring in our city. And I do believe that some fixing of the signals may have occurred, and they have been working on that. So we have kind of seen a slowdown, but again, it is still a lot of speeding in those specific corridors. And I also think, Joy, that there was a question in regards to the construction traffic coming through the subdivision. Yes, that is how, depending on how it was zoned, that is inherited. Now, I do understand in certain situations and that the roads may not necessarily be able to deal with the heavy trucks and equipments that are coming in. I know that we are working with the county to make sure that we try to, if we can, find alternatives for our trucks, and then working very closely with those developers. So your concerns are not going unanswered. It just, with government and 2 interagencies collaborating, it does take a minute. So just want to kind of piggyback on that, but it all depends on how it was zoned as far as, the trucks and things of that coming into the community.
Okay. In effort to just minimize the amount of time, There is a lot of concern about signs not being seen. I did put the information about C-Click Fix. They want to know about the potholes on Cascade and the invisibility of the signs on Enon Road, because they said that it is horrible and there are a lot of accidents in that area. Is there anything being done about that?
When you say signs, are you speaking of speeding signs or just signs in general? Did they mention that in the chat, what signs? And here's another thing too, we do put up a lot of signs throughout the district, but there are people that run them over. I know we just recently put up some signs on Butner and Aldridge, and then also there have been some additional signs placed on Enon Road, but they are often taken down. But as far as for signs and replacements, if you do see them down, I would suggest that you put that information in C-Click Fix. And actually, our Public Works will respond to that. Our Public Works is we have Jacobs as our contractor. And again, we are under new leadership with our new city manager, and she is giving us some great direction and oversight and ways to improve in that area. So you will probably see some improvements in that. But again, as far as for signage and things of that nature, that will be under our Public Works Department. So I would suggest that you put that in C-Click Fix.
Well, there is a large concern for truck signs. The general consensus is that Public Works has stated there are ample signs regarding 18-wheelers, and there is not. And also, additionally, they want to know what is going to be done about the large crowds of teens that gather at the plaza on the weekend.
Are they gathering at the plaza at the marketplace?
At the marketplace.
So that is in the city of Atlanta and the city of East Point. However, as far as I do understand, our new Fulton Sheriff, Patrick Labatt, is working very closely with those municipalities. We all work very closely with the other agencies as well. When we see those type of things, children gathering in the marketplace, and we are responding. So I do know that Councilwoman Willis and myself are actually in that marketplace quite often, because I do have, a teenage daughter that works in the shopping center. So we see a lot of the stuff that happens, and we do alert the authorities, and they are addressing that. But there has been some interagency collaboration in regards to that. And in reference to Enon Road, in regards to the truck signs, there was a study done according to our Public Works Department. And we also had our traffic division for the police department look at that location in regards to signage. And that was also based on the decision from Jacobs in regards to ample truck signage in that location. We can go back and revisit that again to see if there's anything else that we could possibly do to limit or create the visibility. But as Chief said, a lot of it is, being able to notify those GPS organizations to have those trucks, because the majority of District 2 is restricted from truck coming within the district. So you can see truck activity on Camp Creek Parkway, Campbellton, and Cascade Palmetto, because they are state highways. Any other questions?
We only have time for about 3 more questions. And
okay.
One of the first is more of a statement. The average home value appreciation in South Fulton is -9% compared to 14% in North Fulton. Please pay attention to the original sales prices of homes built between 2000 and 2008 when allowing a new development, especially when the homes in Canaan Ridge are well over $500K. They also want to know how many litterers have the cameras actually recorded and fined. And the last one is, can speeds be reduced in subdivisions to something less than 25 miles per hour? And what is the process to make this happen?
So, Mr. Valenzuela, in regards to reducing the speed limits in the subdivision, I think the standard is 25 miles per hour, but if the HOA wanted to reduce that to 15, is that their responsibility or is that something that they can do?
I would share the same mentality that Chief Mayos discussed before. 25 miles is the minimum that we can put on subdivisions.
Mhm.
And they're typically done through an ordinance and when subdivisions are to be built and so on. And lowering that will be out of code.
Out of
So
compliance,
25 miles
okay.
would be the minimum.
Okay. So at that point, they will have to find additional alternatives to slow down the traffic. Is that what we're suggesting?
That's
Within their
correct.
subdivision? Okay.
Yes, I will encourage to revamp those bylaws that each subdivision has and go from there. We all have to take care of what we have around us. And as living in a subdivision and with not respecting the posted speed limit, it just goes beyond our control.
And I think we need to be clear also when they revamp the bylaws, because we get a lot of calls from people telling us, well, the bylaws in our community says this, and they think that the police department can enforce those bylaws. I just want to be clear that that's a civil process that most HOAs go through, and it becomes the HOA's responsibility to then enforce whether they expect to levy penalties against that particular resident or not. And in most subdivisions, it's difficult to even run LiDAR because they're not going to be conducive to the state standards for that. So it's just really important that they understand the difference between what those HOA rules are and what the criminal code allows us to do.
Awesome. Okay, well, I definitely wanted to thank you all for your participation. In regards to why you don't see community development here, because we will be having a special town hall, our red talk table, so people and residents can understand in regards to the questions of home values, of course, development and planning and things of that nature throughout the city of South Fulton, but especially in District 2. So that is coming up also in February. And then we will also have another community meeting in regards to the vaccine. So that is very important. But again, I want to thank all of the residents that participated tonight. Definitely, if there are additional questions or concerns, I'm more than willing to answer them. You can find all of our leaders' emails on the website, or you can definitely reach out to me and we will make sure that we address any of your concerns. So again, I want to thank everyone for coming on. And again, thank you all leaders for being here at 8:45 at night while we address the concerns of the city of South Fulton. So thank you so much and look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Appreciate you all.
No problem. Rocking pearls today, huh?